Hi everyone, I'm Bella and this is Nathan. We are young people from Off the Record, a youth support service, and we are joined today by Miss Cole from Educated Minds, who has taught English and drama in secondary schools in the UK, Bahrain, and the Netherlands.
Thanks to COVID affecting a second year of exam results, there are a lot of questions around education at the moment. And many of us are feeling really anxious and unsure about what's going to happen with our GCSE and A-level results. So Off the Record has invited you here to send in your questions to Miss Cole to answer.
Hopefully, having your questions answered by a credible source will settle some of the worries and uncertainty you've been struggling with so far. Ready, Miss Cole?
I am.
So how exactly will my teachers grade me, and how different will this be compared to last year?
Okay, so this year they are based on just teacher assessment grades. Last year they tried the algorithm, which didn't quite work, and actually ended up kind of penalising a lot of students based on where they live a lot of the time. And so it ended up being a teacher assessed grades last year after they had a whole U-turn on the algorithm. So what they've decided to do this year is just go on teacher assessment grades. And so that is a mixture of like mock exams, coursework, classwork, homework, any kind of essays that you have done. So they have a range of different evidence through your time over the last 2 years to give you a grade based on that.
What was the overall outcome of the way results were handled last year? Were a majority of the students, teachers, etc. happy in the end?
It was a lot of chaos and frustration from both students and teachers last year. It was being based on teacher assessment grades, and then actually the algorithm actually downgraded about 2 million students last year. And so I think teachers felt frustrated that they weren't kind of trusted, for one, and for students, it was the kind of unfairness of it all. A lot of them were penalised for where they lived or the record or history of the school. And so I think there's a lot of frustration last year. People were happy-ish in the end. I think obviously the outcome overall with the pandemic hasn't made anyone feel kind of at ease, but I think a lot of students were happy with the fact that their teacher, someone who knows them, was actually giving them their grade and not a machine.
So for the students that are doing exams next year, do you think that the results process will be quite similar to this year in the sense that might have teacher assessed grades? And do you think that the impact of COVID will be taken into consideration with the exams process next year?
Yes, definitely. They plan to, of course, in the government to have students sit in exams. However, they are aware of lost time. And so the exams would be kind of reduced in regards to what you would have to cover within the exam. So for example, in English, there was an optional, unit to take away. And so that would probably be the case of all subjects. They say that it may take about several years for education to recover. And so it's not fair for those who have started their GCSEs and A levels to be penalised for that lost teaching time or classroom time. Yes, they hope to sit exams, but it's not clear if that will be. It all just depends on how the next year goes with, COVID restrictions and things like that. They plan to do it this year and that didn't work out. And so they plan to do the same sort of thing they plan this year for next year. So we'll see.
I'm hoping I won't need to do this, but what would I need to do to appeal if I'm not happy with my results?
Well, you can appeal, which is a bonus. Hopefully that won't need to be the case because, as I say, you are assessed by your teachers who have taught you for the last 2 years and should know you more than what an exam could do for a lot of students. I think sometimes an exam can actually make students feel even more nervous and not do as well, perform as well. So at least I think hopefully your teacher will have a true reflection of what you're capable of doing with the range of evidence that they use to do this. But if you do want to, after you get your results, you can appeal. So you can appeal to your school and they will look again at the grades. And if you're still not happy with that, then they can send it to the awarding organisation who will look at your grades, but they would need evidence and input from the school because obviously the grades come and evidence come from them. So yes, you can appeal, but hopefully you won't need to get to that stage.
So for students like myself that are going to be doing an assessment either after Easter or in some point in May, some of us might not have necessarily applied ourselves as much as we would have had it not been for COVID. And what do you think that students that are in this situation should be doing?
Well, you still have time. Grades aren't sent off until June the 18th. Like many teachers have probably said throughout, COVID, applying yourself to everything that you're doing, turning up for the lessons, giving your all in all the lessons that you're taught, whether it is online or in the classroom, talking to your teachers as well. That might be an option at this point, to maybe get an idea of where you're at currently and if there's anything you could possibly do, whether it is maybe a test, or they can just give you more feedback about what you should be doing at this stage. I think there's still time to turn it around, but the best person to talk to is the subject teacher.
Do you think these result changes will change the overall grading process for years to come? I've always hated my exams. I've always believed it brought overall grades down when I did my exams. It would be great if my siblings could have a fairer chance when it's their turn.
Unfortunately, it doesn't seem as if the government plan to do this. They believe that exams are kind of necessary to give everyone a fair opportunity, and they have no plans in scrapping it. But hopefully they learn something from it, and maybe there's different forms of assessment rather than just exams. I would think that would be great as for a teacher's point of view to have that. But there are no plans from the government to change anything. They'll make allowances of course for COVID over the next couple of years, but I think it would go back to GCSEs and A levels the way we know it or knew it.
If I did badly on one paper but well on another paper, how would that grading work?
Well, like it would for any other exam for GCSE or A level, it will be weighted for both. So if you got a high A and then a high D, you might come out with a B or high C. So it all just depends on that. But again, I think it will be unfair for schools to just factor in those two things. I would hope within each school that they would also factor in a case of COVID and base it on other pieces of work as well.
So for some schools, they have different approaches to the content that they're telling us. So some schools might say, for example, your question will be based on this topic. They won't exactly say the specific part of the topic, but they might say it will be on this area of your course. Whereas my school are kind of saying your topics could be on this. So they've pretty much said revise most of the course, and there's a chance that what you've revised could come up on the exam. And really the variations in that, and we're all working towards getting the same grades in the end, but how can students, I guess, account for that variations in that?
It's hard. It's such a variation between schools, subjects. It's probably a good idea they don't tell you the exact thing you're going to study, because then they might not get a true reflection of your grade. You could just ask your teachers if there's any more guidance or help you can give in regards to the areas you should be covering. But if not, I would just try to cover what you have over the course so far. And then if you feel that these are areas that you're struggling with still and you actually don't really know about particular content, then going to your teacher or finding other avenues to get revision for that particular topic or content.
And finally, do you have any encouraging words? I know you've been giving us encouragement throughout, but just any last words of encouragement for students like myself who are in this situation, feeling quite anxious because these exams could dictate our final grades and potentially where we go to university?
I completely give it to students at this point. I never had to go to school during a pandemic. And so just for you guys to get through this is just commendable, to be fair. And the resilience that you have had, young people, over the last year and a half, us as adults can't even be that resilient sometimes. And so you should be proud of yourself for that alone. I would also say just do your best from now until June. That's all you can do at this point. And try to just be positive about it. I've said in the last video last year, your grades aren't a reflection of who you are. And so, yes, you might not get the grades that you anticipated, but it doesn't change the character of who you are as a person. I just don't want students to feel deflated if they don't get what they would have wanted, because you have gone through a very difficult time this year, and just getting through that alone should make you feel proud.
So on behalf of Off the Record, we'd like to say a huge thank you, Miss Cole, for all of the helpful answers you've given today. And I know that I feel a lot more reassured than I felt before we started this, so thank you.
We hope this has given much clarity to young people who have submitted these questions, as well as other young people watching this video.
And remember, if you're aged 11 to 25 and you're living in Croydon, Sutton or Merton, please have a look at Off the Record's website to keep updated on the support available to you. See you later, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.